Pretty simple. It's like Tinder. Swipe right if you think, yeah, it's going to happen. Swipe left if not going to happen. So take it would be yes. Leave it no.
Let's go.
They're like statements. So you start it off and then I'll respond. William Nylander will remain at center for the duration of training camp. Leafs morning, take it or leave it, Rosie.
Take it. Give him a chance. You're not, no one's, there's no time counting down where you're losing anything from letting that happen. Leave him there. See what happens.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen too. So Leafs morning, take it for me as well. I think you look at specifically last year with just the 2 games in training camp, everything we just spoke about, no Fraser Minton either. There's not really that standout guy outside of maybe Max Domi, but I think we both agree better served, better utilized on the wing. I think the insulation, the support's going to be there if that combo does stay intact the next couple of weeks in Domi and Nylander. So I'm going to say it remains a thing into the regular season. It should remain a thing into the regular season.
And
Number
another, and with that, like if you bump John Tavares down to 3C, like now you have depth out the ass, right? Like that's a good thing to have. Everyone's like, oh, he's not a 3C player. He can play however he wants, but if you have all those options and surround him with like different, energy players and defensively sound players, but I mean, think about being the guy on the other side where they're throwing Matthews out there, then they're throwing Nylander out there, then they're throwing John Tavares out there. It's like it's a nightmare to try to match with, and it shows depth. And I think that's why they're trying it, is to try to get that depth down the middle.
By the way, we're giving a full copyright to our guy, Zach Phillips. Hey, good segment, boys. Clever. As you guys recall, a couple weeks back, Zach filled in, and I guess it was his idea. I didn't catch that, but did you guys name it that too? Did we
No,
just
we
rip
didn't
Zach's
name it.
idea?
Zach wants a little too much credit, but we definitely played take it or leave it. And apparently he's watching like a hawk, catching us at every turn, and wants the credit where credit is due.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're not going to see Leafs Morning Take It or Leave It on Leafs Nation After Dark. You're going to have to think of a new title for the game show on your show, Zach. Max Pacioretty will crack. Oh my God, will crack camp in a top 6 role. Leafs Morning Take It or Leave It.
I don't care. Like top
No,
6.
I need an answer. Leafs
Second or third line, will he crack the top? Yes, he will. He will be. He'll start on the second line, I believe. I think he'll start in the second line. Top 6.
Yep, I'm taking it as well. I think there's a reason why you bring in Max Pacioretty. It's not to be on the 4th line. I know we had Bruce Boudreau on the other day. He said he's probably a top 6 guy or a 13th forward. He's not going to be a 13th forward.
No.
Everything we've discussed, the fact that Pacioretty came in, has a contract in a drawer somewhere, leads me to believe, I think if all goes well, and I know the Leafs had him skate for them in the summer. He came to Toronto and skate for them as well. I think he will be in a top 6 look for this team, Rosie.
Do you think it would hurt if he at some point was on the third line? Like maybe it's not with Tavares, that's a little bit slow, but do you think he could be fine on the third line and just create depth at forward?
No, not at all. I actually think it's great. Like it's so different talking about line combinations, and you're always very careful, as we've talked about. It is like mid-September. But the one thing I do recall from Craig Berube's time, specifically winning the Stanley Cup, is the depth that he tried to create in his lineup. That's why we saw Alex Steen on the 4th line. I love that idea. In fact, like even thinking about doing the show today, I almost sort of wonder about guys like Connor Dewar, who's got shoulder issues right now, Ryan Reeves. I think the bottom 6 is up for grabs. It includes Steven Lawrence, who's in on camp and a PTO, fresh off winning a Stanley Cup. I think if you can prove to Craig Berube you can play his style, his type of hockey, I think the waiver wire is going to be a useful tool to this team if they have to before October 9th.
Yeah, and speaking of Revo, I played for Craig Berube, and it was Peter Laviolette that got fired, and Peter Laviolette played me every single game. He said, I want a guy like you in the lineup. I know Giroux likes it. I know Voracek likes it. I know all these guys like having you there. He goes, I can't guarantee you 8 to 10 minutes, but you're going to be playing every day. It's not going to be like in Toronto where you played 1, sat 2, played 2, sat 4. You're going to be in, you're going to be dressed, you're going to be in the game. And, I like that. The boys like that. And I'm like, beautiful. Went and had a good summer of training, had a 2-year one-way contract, like ready to go. I'm their guy. The Flyers always have a guy. And Laviolette got fired 3 games into the year. It was the second fastest firing of all time. And in comes Craig Berube. And I'm like, okay, good. Chief's in here. he'll be my guy, but he did not think it was necessary to have a guy like me in every night. I only played 35 or something games that year. So it's not like Ryan Reaves is written in stone in that lineup just because Craig Berube is there. He doesn't feel the need to have a tough guy, and it's only gotten, more unnecessary to have a guy like that since, 14 years ago or whatever the hell that was.
Nick Robertson will be in Toronto's opening night lineup. Take it or leaf it, Rosie.
Robbie McBoberson, I just, for some reason, do not think he's going to. I think they're trying to get a deal to open up some cap space, even though getting rid of his contract wouldn't be enough. I got to go over the numbers again, got to go over the lineup. I'm just going to leaf it and leave it and say that he's not. I think that they got to I think they're 1 point something over the cap. Something's got to change here. I don't know if it'll be him or not, but I just don't know if there is a spot for him.
Leaf it. That is my answer. I think Nick Robertson's going to get traded. I think, in my opinion, there was like this conversation maybe behind the scenes said, hey, just sign this deal, have a good camp, and we'll figure out a resolution, whether it's before the season starts or into the season. But my gut right now tells me Nick Robertson will not be on the opening night lineup. Having said that, injuries can happen. Lots can change over the next couple weeks. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.